Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be covering the book of Ruth. Also, I just want to go ahead and say this. If the video is not long, that is because the book of Ruth is comprised of 4 chapters. Not like the other books of the Bible where they're like comprised of 20 to 50 chapters. This one only consists of 4 chapters. But as always, before we get into the video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because it actually helps the videos get out there. Okay, let's get into the book of Ruth. So there was a man named Elimelech. Now Elimelech had a wife named Naomi, and he had 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion. And there was a really bad famine in the land. So you know, your boy Elimelech, he's like, bet I'm finna take my family to Moab so we can find food. And while in Moab, you know, Naomi's sons were trying to get hooked. So they were like, man, we finna find us some Moabite women to marry. And they were like, bet. So they get married to 2 women. One was named Orpah and the other was named Ruth, the MC of this story. And about 10 years later, Mahlon and Chilion get smoked. So now Naomi doesn't have any husbands and she don't have any kids. And now Naomi found out that, you know, the great famine, the one I was talking about earlier, it was over in Bethlehem, the place that they had originally came over from. And God had blessed his people with food again. And now Naomi is like, bet, I'm finna dip back to Bethlehem. And then she tells Orpah and Ruth, she's like, y'all stay here. I'm finna go back to Bethlehem. And now Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah are like having a little discussion back and forth. And they want to go with Naomi, but Naomi is putting her foot down. She's like, nah. She's like, baby girls, I don't have any more husbands to give y'all. And then one of them, Orpah, she goes back. She's like, bet. She goes back. But Ruth, like one of her son's wives, she's like holding on to Naomi. She's like, baby, like, don't, I'm going with you. I'm going with you. And Naomi tries pleading her case. She's like, yo, your sister-in-law is going back. You should go back with her. And Ruth, she's, let me just tell you what she is. Ruth is just so loyal. So she goes up to her and I quote, she says this, "Don't make me leave you. Where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried." Ah, that's hard! And now Naomi is seeing Ruth, and she's like, okay, bet, baby girl, you finna come with me. And then Naomi and Ruth pull up to Bethlehem, and one of the women there is like, yo, is this Naomi? And then Naomi is like, don't call me that no more. My name is Mara because my life is better now. She's like, I left full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. And then, you know, this chapter basically ends with Naomi and Ruth pulling up to the harvest. And then that's where it ends. The barley. They were pulling up to the barley, which is the whole thing with harvesting. Now, Naomi had a rich family member. I'm talking paid, bro, and his name was Boaz, and he was from the family of Elimelech, your boy earlier. And now Ruth goes up to Naomi and she's like, Naomi, I'm finna go, you know, pick up some leftover grain. Hopefully someone will be kind to me, and the first person that's kind to me, I'm finna follow them. Basically, she's like, anyone who's kind to me, I'll follow anyone who is kind to me. And Naomi is like, bet, go ahead, my daughter. And then Ruth went to the fields and she was working behind a harvester, and she was on a land that so happened to belong to Boaz. And now Boaz is pulling up and he's talking to the workers and he's like, Lord be with you. And they're like, you know what? Lord be with you too. And then Boaz is going up into the field and he sees Ruth there. So he goes up to one of his homies and he's like, yo, who baby girl over there? And now, and the workers is like, yo, that's Ruth. She came from Bethlehem with Naomi. And then the workers proceed to tell Boaz that she's been working and she's been picking up leftover grain. Basically, she's just been working her butt off all day. And now Boaz goes up to Ruth and bro is just being nice to her. He's like, yo, if you thirsty, go get you some water. I've told all my workers not to bother you. And then Ruth is like, man, why are you being so nice to me? And then Boaz, yo, bro, I thought that was a person, bro. Oh my goodness. Okay. And then Boaz is like, oh my goodness, bro. I thought that tree was a person. Oh my goodness, bro. Yo, that actually scared me, bro. Okay, back to the story. And then Boaz is like, yo, I heard what you did for Naomi. I'm with you for that. And then Boaz is like, you know what? baby girl, come to dinner with us. With me and my workers, we finna treat you nice. And she's like, bet. So so Ruth is there and she's getting her grub on and, she's eating. And then as she's eating Ruth, she's being considerate and she's like, yo, man, Naomi probably hungry, so let me save some of this for her. And then Ruth pulls back up to Naomi's crib and she's like giving her the food. And then Naomi is like noticing the extra grain and the food she had brought for, Naomi. And she looks to Ruth and she's like, man, girl, where'd you get all this? And then she's like, yo, I like Boaz, your relative, he helped me out. And Naomi is like, man, bless his heart, Lord bless him. And then Naomi goes on to say that, like, man, he's actually a really wealthy family member. Not only that, he's one of our family's protectors. And then Ruth, tells her this. She's like, yo, he is also not leaving until the harvest is done. And Naomi takes this opportunity. She's like, yo, this is actually a good idea. Ruth, baby girl, you finna stay in the field and work with the women workers. And since Boaz, that's his land, you'll be safe there. No one finna touch you. And then this chapter basically ends with with Ruth staying with Naomi and basically working at Boaz's field. And then one day, Naomi goes up to Ruth and she's like, baby girl, I gotta find you a husband. You know what I'm saying? I gotta find you a house. And then she brings up Boaz's name and he's like, yo, Boaz has been kind to you. You've been working in the field with his female coworkers and you just finna be with him. And tonight he's having a threshing floor where he's separating the barley from other things, from the husks. And Naomi basically tells Ruth, she's like, yo, baby girl, dress up nice and don't let Boaz see you until he's done eating. And then Naomi proceeds to tell Ruth, she's like, yo, when he lays down, know where he lays down, uncover his feet, lay down with him, and he'll tell you what to do. And Ruth is like, I will do everything you say. And then she does everything Naomi tells her. And then she's like at the foot of she's at the foot of Boaz's feet, okay, listen. She's basically at his feet, and she's like laying down next to his feet, and he wakes up and he's like, yo, who are you? And then Ruth is like, yo, I'm one of your servants. And Boaz is like, man, what are you doing here? And then she's like, forget that. Take your cloak and put it over me since you're my family's protector. And then Boaz is like, baby girl, you chose me? Man, you could have chose someone younger, richer, or poorer than me, but you didn't. You chose me. And then he's like, yo, Ruth, don't be afraid. I'm finna do all you ask. And not only that, you've just been super kind to me, and thank you for it. And he's like, everyone knows you are a noble character. Like, you're noble. He proceeds to go on telling Ruth that she's a woman of a noble character. And then basically Boaz is like, yes, and also I am your family's protector, but also there's a guy closer than me, and I'm gonna go ask him to protect you, and if he doesn't agree, bet I'll protect you instead as long as the Lord lives. And then Ruth stayed at his feet, and then Boaz is like, yo, don't let it be known that a woman is here. And then he said, bring your shawl out and hold it, and then she did, and he poured 6 measures of barley into it, and then he helped her carry it back to Naomi. And Naomi is like, how did it go, my daughter? And then Ruth told Naomi everything Boaz had said. And then Naomi is like, wait, my daughter, Boaz won't stop until he settles this today. And so Boaz goes to the town gate and he just sits there. And then Boaz sees one of his homies, the family protector closer than him, and walking by, and he's like, hey, yo, bro, come sit with me. And then Boaz gathered 10 town leaders with him to sit with him as witnesses. And then he's like, yo, Naomi, the woman that came from Moab, is selling the land that belongs to Elimelech. And then he goes on to say, yo, if I thought I should tell you, if you want to buy it, you should go ahead and do that. And he's like, yo, if you won't, then I will. And then Boaz continues to say, he's like, yo, when you buy the land, you got to take Ruth, the Moabite woman, as your wife when you buy it. And then Boaz continues to say, he's like, yo, when you marry her, you have to marry Ruth. That way, the man who was from there, his name can stay with his land. And then the guy's like, nah, I'm not finna do that. That finna hurt my own land rights. And then he's like, nah, I'm not finna do that. You marry her instead, Boaz. Back then, to make a deal final, the man doing the dealing had to take off his shoe and give it to the other person to secure the deal. And that's what happened, bro. The bro took off his shoe and he gave it to Boaz. He's like, are you finna buy the land? And then Boaz is like, bet, I'm finna buy that hoe. And then Boaz is like, yo, all y'all are witnesses today that I bought that land. This is so, he bought that land. He wants witnesses. He's like, yo, I bought that. Let's go. And then Boaz is like, yo, I'm finna take Ruth. That way, the man she married previously, Mahlon, his name can stay with his land. And, happily ever after, Boaz marries Ruth, and then Naomi is like, my daughter. She's just, like, proud of Ruth. She's like, yeah, let's go. And then sooner or later, they have a kid named Obed. Obed then becomes the father of Jesse, who was the father of David. And now this is the family tree. There was Perez, then there was Hezron, and then there was Ram, and then there was Aminabadad, and then it just goes on a long line of a family tree. And that was the book of Ruth. A lot of y'all wanted me to cover the book of Ruth, and y'all thought I should put more. I thought I might just go ahead and, like, explain it the way I'm doing now, because last video was, like, an hour long, and it was just me going, yes, that's the end of the book of Ruth. It shows that, but I was tired, and I thought I might just, spice it up a little for you guys. But, that was the book of Ruth. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because these videos actually take a really long time to make, and it would make my heart if you liked, comment, and subscribe to the channel. But if you guys are gonna get upset because the video was not that long, just know that the book of Ruth was only comprised of like 4 chapters. It wasn't a long book, but I just thought I should go ahead and tell you all this. But yeah, I thank you, I love you, and God bless.